All the members in the room are lying prostrate on the ground as a sign of respect or fear, clearly pressured by the situation. A nervous woman sincerely apologizes. Soon after, someone shouts calling for a family meeting, while another mentions the arrival of an important figure, the rainbow sage, Cross. As a deep question about existence echoes in the air, 4 legendary figures are introduced. Claus, the strongest hero in history; Sophia, the witch master of all kinds of magic; Medil, the priestess who can heal any wound; and Mary, the thief who can see through any trap. The group is made up of talented heroes, each with unique skills that make them worthy of a legendary team. Meanwhile, a boy watches from afar, feeling useless and out of place. He believes he has nothing to offer and only gets in the way of others. Even so, something inside him still insists on going on. Although feeling useless before, the boy is now surrounded by the group's companions who try to please him in every way. He lies in the lap of one of them, while the others offer massages, special drinks, and even some physical affection. Confused and embarrassed, he yells for them to stop, not understanding why he's receiving so much attention. While everyone rests, the boy calls the group's attention for relaxing too much, reminding them that Claude is still on a mission. Suddenly, one of the companions gets excited, saying he will be the one to heal the boy, showing jealousy. In the end, even though Cross defeated 50 monsters, he is still outdone by the others, who killed more than 150, making the power gap clear. The boy wonders why the others care so much about him since he feels he has no special quality. Even though he's called a good guy, he thinks that's something said to people without talents. Still, he decides to try harder, and goes out to gather ingredients for dinner before nightfall, determined to contribute somehow. Cross decides to go alone to get the ingredients, saying the others can rest. Mary offers to help, but he refuses with a smile. The group watches surprised by his attitude, while one member comments, shocked, on how different Cross seemed at that moment. While Cross is out, the group begins to talk excitedly about him. Everyone seems completely enchanted, sharing moments spent with him from a simple touch to greetings or paired missions. Each tries to show they had a special moment with Cross, as if he were everyone's favorite. The admiration for him grows stronger. While the rest of the group recovers from the intense battle against the Demon King's monsters, Cross watches the others training and gets motivated. Even tired, he decides to push himself harder that day. With a determined smile, he prepares to give his best. Cross takes a long time to return, and the group starts to panic. Worried, they even consider that he might have been kidnapped and think about burning the forest to find him. When he finally shows up, saying he was just a little late, everyone rushes to him relieved and surrounds him with hugs, showing clearly how much they care about his presence. Cross comes back carrying a huge amount of food he gathered alone, preparing a real feast for the group. Everyone is amazed and moved by the gesture. While he apologizes for worrying the others, they say that just his kindness would be enough to satisfy them. Joy fills the group as they get ready to enjoy the meal together. The group savors the meal prepared by Cross and is completely won over by the taste. Everyone praises non-stop, saying his cooking even surpasses that of royalty. One of them says she can no longer eat anything not made by him, while another already fears the journey's end, wondering how she'll live without Cross's recipes. Cross smiles at the group's affection and promises to keep cooking for them even after the journey ends. One member exaggerates, saying he would even eat poisonous mushrooms if he cooked them. Meanwhile, a funny little conflict starts when someone takes food another had chosen. Night falls, and everyone prepares to rest after a full day. During the night, while Cross rests a bit apart, the girls dream or murmur things involving him, showing how attached they are. One talks about his effort, another mentions a date, and some even say suggestive things in their sleep. One member questions if he's drinking too much, but everything happens in a light, relaxed atmosphere around the campfire. Even recognized by the group, Cross feels that just cooking is not enough. Alone, he trains with determination in the middle of the forest, trying to become faster and stronger. He doesn't want to keep being seen as weak or useless, and decides he will change that with his own effort. During the night, under the starry sky, Cross raises his sword firmly and declares his true wish, to fight alongside his companions. With eyes full of determination, he promises himself that he will never give up on this goal. While Cross trains alone in the middle of the forest, the others comment worriedly about his dedication. They know he will keep going until dawn, even though he's all hurt. One of the girls confesses she just wants to hear him admit that it's hard, showing how much they care about the silent effort he carries. As they think about everything, Cross faces quietly. The group recognizes that he would never complain, even in tough moments. One of them says that if it weren't for him, they would have given up long ago. Because of that, they all agree to protect him no matter what, even if it costs their own lives. The group's journey continues strong and without new dangers. United, they protect villages from monster attacks and eliminate fortresses of the Demon King's army. With each victory, humanity's hope grows, and the chance to win the war finally draws near. With the 4 celestial kings defeated, the group moves toward the final goal. One of the companions celebrates the achievement and says there's now only one enemy left. Cross, determined, replies confidently, "Only the Demon King remains." The hope to free people from the suffering caused by the monsters is stronger than ever. The heroes arrive at a large city and are warmly welcomed by the people. Shouts of admiration and marriage proposals rise in the crowd, showing how admired they are. The group is guided to the king, who greets them joyfully and congratulates Claude for making it this far. Their fame and recognition for their achievements keep growing. The group thanks the king for his reception, who welcomes them warmly and tells them to make themselves comfortable. Claude informs that as soon as they are ready, they will leave to defeat the Demon King. The king, noticing the team's exhaustion, offers full support and promises to provide everything they need until departure. Even after all their achievements, Cross is still the target of cruel looks and comments from those around. Whispers call him useless, saying he's a burden to the group and shouldn't be there. He tries to stay calm but feels the weight of those words deep inside. With a sad look, he realizes that even in this new country, the prejudice against him remains the same. After hearing the nasty comments about Cross, the whole group changes their attitude and looks visibly angry, ready to act. Cross tries to calm things down, asking for peace and trying to avoid trouble. He even begs them to hold back their anger until they reach the inn, showing that even hurt, he still cares more about others than himself. While the group prepares excitedly to face the next challenge, treating the mission lightly, Cross steps away a bit and reflects silently. Even trying to keep a smile, he admits to himself that some of the king's criticism wasn't totally wrong. He knows that if he lets every bad comment get to him, he will never be able to move forward. Claude, with a sincere smile, says he can only be a hero because Cross is with them. The whole group agrees that thanks to him, they can be a true team. Cross listens, moved, and for the first time seems to accept that he has real value among them. His calm gaze shows those words touched him deeply. Cross remembers everything he's been through and realizes he can still contribute to the group. The journey has lasted almost a year, full of battles and growth. Now, with the final goal approaching, everyone feels the end is near. Still, there's a feeling of gratitude and thoughtfulness in the air, like everything passed in the blink of an eye. The group finally arrives in front of the Demon King's castle. Cross watches, impressed, feeling the weight of the moment. He begins to wonder what will come after the final battle, who will return, what each will do, and even questions if Claude will become king when they come back. Even facing the biggest challenge, thoughts about the future of each one after the journey's end already appear. Each group member starts sharing their plans for the future. Some want to study magic, others want to return to their origins or even get married. All show simple, personal dreams, far from battles. When asked what he wants to do, Cross admits he has many ideas like traveling slowly or opening a snack shop but hasn't decided yet, showing he's still discovering his own path. Claude suggests that after everything, he and Cross go out drinking together until dawn. Cross gets excited about the idea, but before he can fully accept, the rest of the group shows up saying they want to go too. Without complaining, Cross laughs and suggests everyone party together all night, ending the moment with joy and unity. Excited with the plans for the future, the group throws themselves into the final stretch. They storm the castle, ready to face the last enemy. When they enter the Grand Hall, they are greeted by the imposing presence of the Demon King, who calmly stares at them and says they have finally arrived. The final battle is about to begin. The group finally faces the Demon King, a skeletal and imposing figure who receives them with contempt. He recognizes the losses he suffered to the heroes and threatens to kill them all soon. With a firm look, Claude prepares himself, and without hesitation, the heroes advance together into the final battle. Claude attacks quickly but is surprised by a direct blow from the Demon King. Even so, he stays firm. Then Sophia steps in and casts a powerful spell, destroying part of the hall and showing the fight is far from over. Her expression reveals total focus and determination. After Sophia's magical offense, Mary moves swiftly and lands a direct hit on the Demon King's face. The force of the attack throws him back, breaking part of the floor. The impact is strong, and even the villain shows surprise. The group is combining all their strength. In the middle of the battle, Medeal signals Sophia to act. The Demon King, distracted, doesn't notice Claude's move, who charges with full force. With perfect timing, he lands a powerful blow on the enemy, taking advantage of the opening created by the team effort. With a strike full of strength and determination, Claude hits the Demon King squarely, throwing him violently against the wall. Cross watches everything with wide eyes, impressed by the impact of the attack. The fight reaches its most intense moment, with the group showing the result of everything they faced until then. With the Demon King defeated, Claude looks at the fallen enemy and recognizes the true power of a hero. Soon after, he joyfully celebrates, telling Cross that it's all over. The group gathers excitedly, celebrating the victory. One of them, pumped up, even asks for praise from Cross for having given his all. The war ends with a light atmosphere full of relief. Right after the victory, Cross notices a magical symbol revealed in the castle, and everything suddenly seems to fit together. While the group relaxes unaware, he stares silently at the scene, eyes wide open. In his mind, one certainty arises. At that moment, he understood everything. In an unexpected and painful act, Cross jumps in front of Claude and is pierced by a deadly attack. The impact is brutal, but he doesn't hesitate for a second. With a calm and firm look, he thinks that everything he lived led him to that moment, and that it was exactly where he was supposed to be. As the Demon King dissolves, leaving one last curse on the cycle of hatred, Claude falls into despair, seeing Cross gravely wounded. Medeal rushes to try to heal him, but when she touches his body, she notices something strange. The shock on her face reveals that the situation is worse than they expected. Cross is in Claude's arms, badly injured. The Demon King's curse prevents any kind of healing. Medeal confirms that even her magic doesn't work, and despair takes over the group. With a weak voice, Cross questions why Claude would risk so much to protect someone like him, not understanding his own worth until the end. Claude begs Cross to survive, desperate at the idea of a world without him. But Cross, already weak, says he can't even drink the potion. With a calm smile, he watches everyone's tears around him and thinks that if they're crying for him like that, then he was very lucky to have found this group. With a final smile, Cross regrets not having been able to help his companions more. His strength runs out, and he passes away right there, surrounded by the friends he valued so much. Silence takes over the hall. In the end, the message is clear: Cross Vish deceased. In an unknown place, Cross's consciousness awakens to the sound of voices calling him Sage. When he opens his eyes, he faces a crowd of creatures kneeling before him, desperately apologizing. The name echoing Sage Cross Vish reveals that something has completely changed, and that the story is not over yet. Cross awakens in a new body, confused and surprised. He discovers that because of the curse from the former Demon King, he ended up reincarnating as a monster. Now, he will have to live in the demon world as one of them, even without fully understanding what is happening. Cross finally understands his new reality. Facing several monsters kneeling, he realizes he reincarnated in the demon world, as one of them. Shocked, he faces this new life not knowing what to expect going forward. Confused and scared, Cross tries to understand what is going on. He remembers the victory against the Demon King and his own death. But now he is in a strange place, surrounded by monsters kneeling in absolute respect. The situation is so absurd that he can barely process everything. Facing the surreal scene of kneeling monsters, Cross tries to stay calm. He realizes he has no information, and that the situation is much more dangerous than it seems. Even so, his biggest thought is about his old companions, if Claude and the others are okay after everything that happened. While trying to understand where he was, Cross is surprised by the arrival of a girl with a human appearance. Politely, she introduces herself as Aura Feel, or simply Aura, and reveals she is the current Demon King. The revelation shocks Cross, leaving him unsure what to think of this new reality. Aura tries to calm Cross, saying she doesn't want to hurt him. She calls him Rainbow Sage, and recognizes his former identity in the group of heroes. Confused, he doesn't understand who they're talking about and denies being that person, thinking the title is exaggerated. Even so, it's clear his fame in the demon world is much greater than he imagined. Cross hears Aura describe his fame as the group's mediator and the hero who defeated the Demon King without any special power. He gets even more confused, thinking it's all a big misunderstanding, and replies that, in reality, he was just dead weight. Trying to stay calm, he asks Aura to explain once and for all what is going on. Aura begins explaining that Cross is seen by monsters as a legendary hero, a sage who earned respect even from his enemies. She says everyone admires him not for power, but for heart and deeds. Even incredulous, Cross listens, trying to understand why he is so revered in a world where he should be the stranger. Noticing his new appearance, Cross panics, wondering if now he looks cool or just weird among the monsters. Confused by the change, he is surprised to hear from Aura that he looks better than before. Embarrassed and not knowing how to react, he realizes he reincarnated with a much cooler look than he was used to. Aura tries to show the seriousness of the situation, reminding him that Cross is now a monster, theoretical enemy of humanity. Even so, he says naturally that he never hated monsters. Emotionally, Aura declares she is willing to die for him if necessary. But Cross smiles and replies she did nothing wrong. For him, there is no reason for hate there. Aura reveals that 10 years have passed since Cross's death, which shocks him. He tries to understand his situation, even asking his current age, and finds out he technically has 0 years. Before he can ask about Claude and the others, his stomach growls loudly, and Aura changes the subject with a smile, suggesting they eat something first. Cross sits before an elegant meal prepared by the Monster Nation. It's his first meal since being reborn, and Aura tells him to enjoy it well. Surprised by the sophisticated appearance of the food, he looks at the plate as if it were something from another world after all. It is literally a new life now. Tasting the food, Cross is amazed by the flavor, and starts comparing it to everything he has ever eaten in life. Surprised by the quality, he even thinks about trying to cook something like this someday. With a satisfied smile, he says he's happy to have been reborn as a monster. Seeing his reaction, Aura responds joyfully, as the two share this light moment amid so many changes. While savoring the food, Cross comments he wishes Claude and the others could try it too. Aura says just to ask the maids to serve more. Amid the light mood, Cross makes a serious reflection. He realizes that the monsters didn't lose to humans, they just lost to the hero. A subtle difference, but one that changes everything in his view of the conflict. Cross sees the monster city for the first time, and is impressed by the size and beauty of the place. Alongside Aura, he comments that it might even be bigger than the human capital. The scene shows busy and well-structured streets, revealing that the monster world is much more advanced than he imagined. Accepting his new life as a monster, Cross asks if he will have to fight humans. Aura reassures him, saying there's no need for that. She then reveals her true dream, to create trade relations between monsters and humans. A future of peace and cooperation is what she really wants to build. With determination in her eyes, Aura declares her real goal: to create a world where monsters and humans no longer need to fight. Her words surprise Cross, who is touched by the strength of that ideal. For the first time, he sees a path of peace coming directly from someone who should be his enemy. Hearing Aura's dream, Cross starts remembering what he and his companions wished for: a world without conflict. Happy memories around the campfire return to his mind, along with the feeling that this future can still be reached. With determined eyes, he realizes there's still something he can do. He calls for Aura, now with a new purpose in his heart. Cross stands up with a smile full of energy and extends his hand firmly, saying he wants to help. He decides to support Aura's dream of creating a world where humans and monsters no longer fight, showing he also believes in this future. Aura is moved by Cross's words. It's the first time someone offers support like that. Touched, she holds his hand firmly and asks for his strength. Cross, determined, shows there is still time to fight for everyone, humans and monsters together. Sometime later, old companions from the journey walk silently along a remote trail. They arrive before a tombstone engraved with the name Cross Vish, the hero once thought dead. The visit shows how much he is still remembered and respected by those who once fought alongside him. The group of old allies gathers before Cross's grave 10 years and 184 days after his passing. Each brings memories and feelings from the past. They praise his cooking, recall adventures, and express longing. Despite busy routines, they find time to visit together, wishing Cross happiness wherever he is now. Before Cross's tomb, the group of heroes reveals a new weight in their hearts. One member, overcome by pain, questions why Cross left them behind. The sadness turns to rage, Now they intend to exterminate all monsters, even knowing that this was not Cross's wish. Despite doubts and guilt, they feel they cannot forgive the enemies for something not yet revealed. The former group of heroes visits Cross's tomb with serious faces. Dominated by pain and anger, they declare that in the world, Cross protected, there is no place for monsters. Meanwhile, the protagonist appears smiling, marking the beginning of an inevitable confrontation between humans and monsters, a clash between former allies now on opposite sides. The protagonist decides that to achieve peace, he first needs to understand demons. He acknowledges he knows little about them, so he begins to seek that knowledge. Soon, he is surprised by several demon children who call him excitedly, starting his coexistence with this new world. After being called insistently by the children, the protagonist feels overwhelmed and confused. He shouts, saying he can't understand anything with so much noise. Sitting alone in his room, he starts doubting himself. He doesn't understand what a sage is, thinks he's not capable of it, and doesn't even know his race. Insecurity takes over, as he thinks about the weight of expectations placed on him. The protagonist discovers he belongs to the Necronia race, a mix of demon and undead. Shocked, he asks if he's dead, and the answer is direct. Yes, but he was revived by magic. The explanation continues, saying there are several types of undead, and he is the kind that comes back to life through magical power. Cross is surprised to find out that, even being of the rare Necronia race, he is not immortal. Aura explains that because he is a hybrid, he shouldn't push his body too hard. The Necronia race has regenerative abilities, but they are poorly documented, mentioned only in legends. Even so, Cross considers testing this ability on his own, while she warns him not to overdo it. Cross learns that the Necronia race, which he belongs to, has great historical importance, known for leading demons and bringing peace to the world. This puts pressure on him, making him think he needs to try harder. He remembers that this body wasn't originally his. While he worries about these expectations, Aura tries to reassure him, saying those stories are just legends and he doesn't need to be so hard on himself. Suddenly, a knight named Liebel enters and introduces herself. With a firm expression, she says she needs to say something important. Without beating around the bush, she angrily states that humans are despicable and shouldn't be kept around, making the atmosphere heavy and tense. Aura tries to defend Cross, saying he's a victim of the old Demon King and deserves respect. But Liebel explodes with rage, accusing humans of betrayal and saying Cross is not trustworthy either. Even when restrained, she reveals she wanted to be by Aura's side, making her feelings clear. Liebel continues acting aggressively, demanding Cross call her Demon King, threatening him with her sword. Meanwhile, Aura tries to ease the situation and sees a perfect chance, using this confusion to show the people that Cross is someone trustworthy. She then says she had a good idea. Liebel challenges Cross to a duel, demanding he prove his worth as a true sage. With a fierce look, she calls him an imposter and wants him to fight to earn everyone's respect. Cross is shocked, while Aura reacts surprised by the knight's absurd proposal. Despite Aura's warnings, Cross accepts the duel against Liebel. He understands that if he's not respected in the demon realm, he won't be able to help her dream of achieving peace. Determined, he decides to prove his worth with his own hands. The stadium fills up, everyone excited for the duel. The sage's name has even become the theme for food and bedding. Aura watches everything with a worried look, recognizing the pressure she placed on Cross, even if unintentionally. Aura wonders if it was right to let the duel happen. Meanwhile, it's revealed that in the human world, Cross was seen as dead weight in the heroes group. His opponent, Liebel, is known as the Traitor Knight, a legendary warrior who served the old Demon King and has strength comparable to generals. For many, Cross has no chance against her. Cross steps into the arena and notices the large number of spectators who came to watch. The pressure starts to hit him, and he thinks maybe he played the hero role a bit too much. Liebel, on the other hand, taunts coldly, saying the duel involves the dignity of the Demon Lord and that he shouldn't embarrass himself. The duel begins with Liebel charging full force. Her speed is absurd and catches Cross by surprise. In the blink of an eye, she's right in front of him, ready to attack without hesitation. The crowd watches silently as the fight heats up. Cross realizes how fast Liebel is and can barely react to the first attack. He tries to retreat and gain distance, but the pressure of the battle only increases. Liebel mocks him, saying a true sage wouldn't run away, while he runs trying to think of a way to turn the tables. Cross tries to escape, but ends up hit by a strong attack. He realizes the problem isn't just Liebel's sword skill, She also knows how to use magic. Surrounded by magical spheres floating around her, she shows she's taking the duel seriously, and that Cross will have to work much harder if he wants any chance. Liebel keeps pressing with non-stop magical attacks, forcing Cross to dodge constantly. She taunts that there's no hero left to protect him, and that running won't solve anything. Even cornered, Cross starts to smile. It seems he finally thought of something to change the game. While watching the duel, the attendees comment on Cross's past. They say he was seen as dead weight, but by following the greatest battles in the world, he developed eyes capable of spotting any move. Even underestimated, he used this harsh environment to grow. Aura acknowledges that in the demon world, there's no room for weakness. Losing while carrying a burden would be unacceptable. Despite being surrounded by pressure and intense battle, Cross starts to stand out. His focus increases, and he finally shows he is a true member of the hero group. With sharp eyes, he firmly states that now he can see everything clearly. The audience watches shocked by the overwhelming strength of the knight, thinking the fight will end soon. Many begin to doubt the sage's abilities, wondering if he really is that weak. Even Aura seems worried about the situation. As he retreats, the sage seems about to fall, defeated just by magic. The knight mocks the fight, finding it all boring. But suddenly, something changes. The sage's gaze becomes serious, and he takes an unexpected action, surprising even the opponent. The knight thinks the sage will react, but realizes he's just throwing stones. To her, it's a pathetic move. He's just hiding in the smoke, waiting for time to pass. But unnoticed, one of the projectiles he launched starts moving strangely and quickly. The knight begins to get annoyed, thinking the enemy is only trying to buy time. She believes that even if the projectiles hit, they won't cause any damage. Irritated, she prepares to end it quickly, releasing more explosions and saying he's just in the way. The explosion's smoke covers everything, and the boy takes advantage of the distraction to advance quickly. He surprises the opponent by appearing from the smoke curtain, ready to attack. The woman notices the strategy and admits he was smart to use the explosion as cover, but warns that this is still his death field. The boy manages to get close and lands a direct hit, injuring the opponent's arm. The impact is strong, and even the crowd reacts surprised. Despite the injury, the woman keeps a smile on her face, facing the boy with a determined look. Meanwhile, he pants, sweating and feeling the weight of the effort. Even injured, the boy doesn't retreat and surprises the opponent with an accurate attack. She's caught off guard and leaves her guard open, allowing him to disarm her sword with a quick move. Her weapon flies far, while the audience reacts shocked by the turnaround. The girl is completely shocked as she realizes the opponent's sword is at her throat. She freezes without reaction while the crowd erupts in applause and cheers at the unexpected ending of the fight. The fight ends with the boy's victory, declared before everyone. Although upset, the opponent is forced to accept the result. He remains silent, relieved that his strategy worked. Meanwhile, the other girl tries to justify the defeat, but the mood is sealed. The winner is decided. The arena explodes in celebration. The boy, now recognized by all, is called Sage with respect and admiration. The crowd cheers, praising his victory and saying they always believed in him. With his back turned, he watches everything silently, perhaps still processing what just happened. The boy smiles with tears in his eyes, relieved and moved. After everything he went through, he feels he finally proved his worth. Thinking about his past life, he understands all the effort was worth it. After the fight, Cross lies in the infirmary, and the girl runs worried, asking if he's okay. He tries to reassure everyone with a smile, even with his arm injured. Despite the situation, he pretends to be calm. But when the girl mentions the cure might not fully work on lost limbs, the mood changes. He starts to sweat, and even while keeping the smile, doubt hits. Did he overdo it this time? Cross surprises everyone by starting to regenerate the lost arm, even impressing the judge with his healing power. Although the arm is still small, he celebrates excitedly. Meanwhile, Liebel doesn't accept defeat and shouts, asking why she lost, saying she's stronger. The judge tries to calm her, but she insists, acting like a bitter loser. Cross, calmly, says she's partly right but emphasizes, losing is losing. Cross explains he only managed to win because he took advantage of an opening, something that happens with very strong people. He says everyone has this kind of carelessness, even Claude, whom he never managed to beat. Still, he admits he only won that time because he sacrificed his own hand. With a sincere smile, he admits Liebel is strong, while she angrily denies being careless, and the judge and Aura remain silent. unsure what to say. Cross asks if now he can be trusted. After everything. Libel, annoyed but unable to fully deny, grudgingly admits her combat skills. He then offers to help Aura's work, saying he promised to support her dream. Aura tries to say he doesn't need to do that, but Cross insists with a determined smile. Libel, though finding the attitude strange, recognizes it's admirable. Aura and Libel talk about an important responsibility, and Libel soon shows distrust, thinking Cross isn't suitable for it. Even so, she admits maybe there's no other option. Meanwhile, Cross listens seriously, knowing many still oppose the idea of demons and humans coexisting. Aura then makes a firm decision and declares she has a special request for Cross. Aura reveals that the remnants of the old Demon King's army are reorganizing, and a coup could happen at any moment. She asks Cross to defeat this new group before something worse happens. As part of the mission, she insists Libel go along, which irritates the warrior. Despite being upset, she has no choice, and the two end up assigned to this new mission together. Cross and Libel watch from afar a village surrounded by walls. Libel confirms that place is the enemy's hideout. The two prepare with serious expressions, ready to face whatever comes. While the protagonist enjoys hot food kept in a special container, he comments on how incredible the Demon King's castle utensils are. He thinks how useful it would have been to have them when traveling with his old companions. But the light mood is soon interrupted by Libel, who scolds him for relaxing so close to the enemy base. She reminds him he was chosen for this mission, and that the enemy hideout is right there, waiting for them. The boy offers food to the warrior, saying no one can fight on an empty stomach. Though suspicious at first, she accepts. Trying to hide it, she calls the meal simple, but soon gives in to the flavor and changes her attitude, asking for more enthusiastically. The boy smiles relieved, happy she liked it. While the boy moves away to observe the enemy hideout, the warrior jokes that he should become the Demon Lord's chef. He prefers to avoid fights and tries to get more information. Suddenly, he notices someone leaving the place and is soon hit by something from a distance, surprised by the accuracy of the attack. Realizing the danger, the boy orders Libel to retreat. But a mysterious enemy suddenly appears, too fast to be seen arriving. He quickly realizes this man is dangerous and recalls Aura's warning. Although the enemy group is not large, their leader is someone who demands special attention. The enemy finally introduces himself, Gustar, known as Faster Than the Wind. Mounted on his horse, he arrives confidently and taunts the group, saying it's an honor to meet the famous sage everyone has been talking about. The atmosphere heats up, and everyone goes on alert. Cross and Libel enter enemy territory and soon realize they're surrounded by many creatures. Tension rises as Libel prepares to attack, but Cross stops her. He reminds her the mission isn't to defeat everyone but to follow the Demon Lord's direct order, suggesting there's another goal there beyond battle. Cross talks about how hard it is to keep peace between humans and monsters, and how fights among monsters themselves only get in the way of this dream. He proposes to solve everything peacefully, believing this can help fulfill Aura's wish. Walking determined, he questions Gustar about why he opposes her plans. Gustar reveals his true goal. He wants total freedom from monsters, but believes this is only possible if humanity is eliminated. He explains that due to the power difference between humans and monsters, humans would never accept living as equals. To him, the idea of equality would only limit monsters, something he completely rejects. Cross listens with a serious expression, realizing the conflict of ideals between them. Cross tries to convince Gustar to listen, but the centaur replies suspiciously, saying humans always betray. Surrounded by supporting monsters, he challenges Cross. He will only obey someone faster than him. Cross sees an opening and proposes a race if he wins. Gustar must listen. The proposal surprises the centaur. Gustar accepts the challenge excitedly, finding it all fun. Cross is surprised by how easily he convinced him. Meanwhile, the whole city gets into the race. Spirit monsters gather, fireworks are set off, and it turns into a big party. Libel watches confused, not understanding how things escalated so fast. The race is about to start. The rules are simple. The first to touch the tree on the hilltop wins. Gustar appears with his imposing horse, confident as always. Cross, serious and focused, faces the challenge even knowing the opponent's absurd speed. The atmosphere is tense, and it looks like it will be an intense competition. The race begins with Gustar taking off with an impressive burst, kicking up dust with his centaur body. The crowd already cheers as if victory is guaranteed, while Libel shouts surprised at Cross's apparent lag. But he's nowhere near giving up with focused eyes and releasing intense energy. Cross starts accelerating, determined to turn the game around. Midway through the race, Cross surprises everyone by getting close with full force and hitting Gustar's rear, causing the centaur to stumble and fly through the air. The crowd is shocked, and Libelle wastes no time shouting, accusing the move of cheating. As Gustar is thrown, the competition's mood turns into total chaos. Even injured and exhausted, Cross doesn't give up. He grabs Gustar's tail during the race, ignoring the protests and risk of further injury. Gustar gets annoyed, but Cross doesn't let go, saying it doesn't break the rules. Even hearing he might die from it, he insists, saying he already died once and now is trying to change the world. This determination surprises Gustar, who begins to take his words more seriously. Gustar explodes in rage, recalling the losses he suffered. He says many of his friends were killed by humans, and now they have to endure all this because of people like them. Even knowing the protagonist reincarnated, he accuses him of still being human, and therefore unable to understand or care about monsters. Cross tries to deny, saying it's not exactly like that. Meanwhile, Gustar remembers the endless cycle of deaths, both monsters and humans, a cycle he himself was trapped in. He concludes things can't go on like that. Despite all the injuries, the protagonist shouts that everyone can still be happy together, side by side. He dreams of a future where humans and monsters walk hand in hand. Meanwhile, Gustar runs ahead and mocks, saying the protagonist's dream is too big and that using dirty tricks won't work. But the protagonist recognizes the truth. He knows he can't win this race alone. The protagonist is thrown to the ground after an explosion. Meanwhile, an ally launches fireworks for distraction. Gustar is startled by the sudden scene, not understanding where it came from. The plan works. The enemy loses control for a moment. Even fallen, the protagonist holds firm, the thought that he can't win this race alone. Exhausted and injured, the protagonist makes one last jump and touches the tree at the hilltop, ending the race. Lying on the ground, he smiles and asks if he won. Even in that state, he makes a simple request, that Gustar be his friend. Gustar watches silently, surprised by everything that just happened. Despite being all broken, the protagonist says he'll be fine thanks to his regeneration. Gustar, still not believing what he saw, starts laughing and calls him an idiot for jumping from a firework. But deep down, he recognizes that was something unusual and ends up liking the idea of seeing the world alongside someone like that. After everything, the centaur approaches with a determined look and says he will follow the protagonist and join his team. With a sly smile, he jokes calling the boy the Rainbow Sage, but soon introduces himself more simply. His name is Cross. A new friendship is born there, under the tree on the hilltop. After presenting the financial report, the man leaves the royal chamber with a formal smile. Alone on the throne, the king remains silent, reflecting. Grand titles like King of Kings, Savior of Humanity, and Guardian of Humanity cross his mind, but they don't seem to bring pride, only a silent burden. Sitting alone on the throne, the king stares into the emptiness of the hall with a lost look. Even surrounded by titles and power, he wonders what he is doing there, as if none of it made sense anymore. The king begins to question his own actions, asking why he still protects humans. Amid his doubt, he concludes that humanity also deserves to be destroyed. At that moment, a girl appears, outraged by his words, confronting him directly, making him pause and reflect while silently holding a knife. The girl named Mary unexpectedly appears before the throne and questions the king's exhaustion. She reminds him that Cross always endured everything for a long time, and that the world he tried to protect with so much effort cannot simply be destroyed. The king, calmer, admits he is tired, revealing a more human and vulnerable side. Mary tries to provoke the king by climbing onto his lap and suggesting she could comfort him with her body, but he coldly refuses, saying she doesn't really feel that way. He points out that she would only accept being touched by Cross, making it clear he sees through her joke. Without insisting, she changes the subject and decides to get straight to the point. Claude becomes furious upon learning that Mary visited Cross's parents, remembering they had promised not to get close to avoid problems. But Mary tries to calm him and says Cross's parents spoke kindly, saying he considered them true friends. They recall that Cross always wrote about Claude with much affection, not as a hero, but as someone ordinary with whom he had fun, laughed, and shared silly moments. Claude starts to smile, moved by Mary's words about the importance Cross gave him as a friend. But soon she brings another piece of news. Medill and Sophia had already departed toward the monster territory. They ended up being the last to move. Claude rejects the idea of going along with Mary, saying that without Cross, there was no reason to keep going together. Determined, he stands up, faces the future firmly, and decides to go confront the monsters. While on a mission, the protagonist and Cross raise their cups and begin to celebrate with the city's people. The table is full of food and drink, and everyone seems to be having fun except for a knight, who watches the scene indignantly, reminding them they are still on duty. Cross tries to lighten the mood by pulling the knight to celebrate, but she reacts irritated, calling him horseface. Meanwhile, the protagonist tries to ease things by offering the food he prepared himself. The argument between the two continues with provocations on both sides until Cross replies that only his body is horse-like, not his face. Cross says he learned to cook from the monsters because he was interested in their cuisine. While the others eat satisfied, some soldiers appear irritated, saying they don't accept the contest result. They accuse Cross of cheating, taking advantage of the boss's masculinity. Despite the confusion, Cross remains calm and says he had a good idea. During the commotion, a resistance competition called Gustar Rodeo begins, where Cross is thrown onto the centaur's body. Meanwhile, a girl from the group drinks calmly and laments, saying she just wants to return soon. She watches the situation and wonders if there are only idiots around, since everyone seems to enjoy the absurd scene. After going through the rodeo challenge, the boy can barely walk and starts staggering, trying to stay upright. He says he's proud he didn't vomit, but soon falls to the ground and gets sick. One of the guys in the group pats him on the back, praises his courage, and apologizes for getting too excited. The rest of the group just watches and mocks the situation, saying he's still pathetic. The mood turns into pure chaos, with everyone laughing at the mess. In the middle of the celebration, the knight Libel starts acting strangely, suggesting she's already gone too far with the drinking. While she insists she's completely drunk, the group gets even more excited, encouraging them to drink more. The party continues with everyone around the table full of food and drink, enjoying the night without caring about anything else. During the night, the group watches the surroundings and comments on the remaining armies scattered nearby. One of them believes he can mediate talks with these forces, trying to avoid conflicts and form alliances. Another is more skeptical, saying it won't be that simple. Even so, the group continues hopeful, dreaming of a future without wars. The group talks about a new threat among the remnants, a fire dragon named Dreg, extremely powerful, and who sees humans only as food. Despite the danger, one member believes that with Gustar's influence and Libel's power, it's still possible to handle the situation. Meanwhile, Libel confirms she has heard of the dragon, and recalls that Ora-sama was also watching that enemy. While one insists the hero would never accept negotiation, the protagonist believes that if all monsters unite, it will be possible to promote dialogue between Claude and Ora. They bet on understanding, affirming the hero is a good person. But before they can continue, someone suddenly falls shouting for help, interrupting the conversation. At that moment, Gustar mentions the hero disappeared from the kingdom, putting everyone on alert. Suddenly, one of Dreg's subordinates appears injured, running desperately and asking Gustar for help. He can barely speak but soon reveals shocking news to all. The hero reappeared and is attacking. Amid the destroyed scenery, the hero appears from behind, silent, on top of the defeated dragon's body. He looks toward the horizon and declares that the victory is dedicated to Cross, showing his motivation is still alive and strong. During a break in the forest, the two travelers talk about the repetitive daily food. One says he wants to eat something more special in the next city, while the other praises the food made by Cross, saying it's his greatest luxury. The conversation ends lightly, with laughter and friendship between them. Alone in a rocky and cold landscape, the hero remembers the times he ate food made by Cross. Nothing else has tasted the same since then. Sitting near the campfire, he reflects silently, showing longing and sadness, wishing to taste again the food that gave meaning to his journey. The group encounters Claude, who has a somber look and tense expression. The mood is heavy, and the tension between them is immediate. One of the young men recognizes him and calls out, surprised by his state. Claude doesn't respond, only stares silently, carrying something no one there fully understands yet. Cross tries to calm Claude, approaching with a smile and reminding him who he island. He explains that times have changed, that now the new leader of the monsters doesn't seek war. Even with Cross's sincere appeal, Claude remains with a vacant and troubled look, seeming not to absorb those words. The tension between past and present only increases. Claude attacks Cross by surprise, landing a direct blow that leaves him gravely wounded. Everyone around reacts with shock. Claude, filled with hatred, stares at Cross closely and tells him never to dare speak of Cross, calling him a monster with disdain. The tension reaches its peak, and it's clear he's unwilling to listen. Claude doesn't hesitate and advances again, striking Cross with force and throwing him to the ground. Cross, injured, barely reacts while Claude stares coldly, holding his sword. The difference in intention between the two becomes clearer and clearer. Cross tries to explain that he was reincarnated, that he still has all the memories from when he was human, and that he remains the same inside. He tries to justify that he became a monster because of the Demon King's curse. But before he can finish, Claude launches another attack, completely ignoring his words. A boy tries to imitate Cross's appearance but is quickly criticized by another, who says the real Cross doesn't have such a dumb face. He tries to defend himself, saying he looks better now, but others point out that Cross has cuter eyes, straight hair, and a very different appearance. The boy recalls moments with the group like when he learned to swim, got help in the desert, and cooked for everyone. He mentions they always say anything will do, which bothers him. After remembering the promise to drink together until morning, he gets excited and invites everyone to go drink now. The knight pressures the boy lying on the ground, accusing him of being a monster who reads memories. He mocks the idea of reincarnation, saying if that existed, he would have tried it a long time ago. Then he is surprised by a sudden attack. A woman appears furious, saying the hero is an obstacle to Aura's dreams. She summons several magical spheres and launches an attack, saying no one would care if she killed him, since he defeated the Demon King. The tension rises as she throws everything at the knight. The knight doesn't hesitate and attacks the woman with a direct blow to the face, throwing her forcefully to the ground. Then he drags her across the field and throws her brutally against the ground, ending the confrontation quickly and decisively. The boy runs desperately, seeing Gustar severely injured. The enemy attacks mercilessly, throwing Gustar away. Then a mysterious figure appears mounted on a horse, grabs the fallen knight, and quickly takes him away. Amid the silent field, the boy walks injured toward his fallen companion's body. He approaches, tears streaming, and calls for Claude, visibly shaken and weak. The scene is heavy and full of pain. Claude approaches and almost drives his sword into the unconscious boy, but stops at the last moment. Confused and filled with anger, he questions why he is so irritated. Seeing the boy's face, he recognizes Cross but is shocked and takes a direct blow to the face. Claude steps back, chest tight, admitting he lost the will to kill. He says he no longer wants to see the boy and warns that his mission now is to eliminate all monsters in the world without fail. Even shaken, he remains determined, turning his back and leaving. The two face each other in silence, with expressions marked by pain and pride. The boy watches Claude with tears held back, while Claude keeps a cold and determined look, walking his path without looking back. While resting in a hot spring, the dragon thanks the sage for saving his life. The boy, still shaken, laments that Claude didn't recognize him. One ally tries to cheer him up, saying feeling sorry is pathetic, while another comments on the dragon's incredible endurance. While chatting at the spring, the group talks about how even Dreg is now on their side. The dragon promises to return the favor to the hero if they meet again. The boy talks about the desire to create a world without fights between humans, but Dreg refuses the idea, reminding that his companions were killed. The sage concludes convincing humans might be as difficult as dealing with monsters. The sage questions if they should give up, asking if everything was too much for the boy. Even shaken, he gets up determined, saying he won't give up. He says they only crossed Claude's path once, but promises he will convince him because he believes only Claude can do it. Back at the castle, the demon leader smiles, relieved to see them alive. She says she has heard the report and is surprised to learn they returned, bringing the remaining forces as allies. The trio enters seriously, carrying the weight of what happened. The demon leader praises the group's loyalty, finding it impressive how quickly they trusted Cross. The warrior makes clear he doesn't follow her because she's a demon, but because he trusts Cross. Liebel admits her defeat and lowers her head. Then Cross asks worriedly if they are about to go to war against humans again, remembering that Claude promised to exterminate all monsters. The woman begins explaining the current situation between humans and monsters. She says their side's economy is stable, and there are good relations with maritime nations. However, regions near the hero's kingdom and the former Demon King's castle remain strongly anti-monster. The boy is surprised, thinking those nations attacked them. but she replies that there hasn't been any serious aggression so far. After the group found Claude, other members of the heroes group began appearing throughout the country. This puts everyone on alert. The sage comments that in a war they would move together, but this seems personal. The boy, scared, understands they're probably trying to avenge Cross. The boy blames himself for thinking he was protecting everyone, but realizes he may have caused even more pain. Determined, he decides to reveal he is alive and turn everyone into allies. The monster leader says peace made everyone complacent, and now they must unite quickly. The sage warns that with the remaining forces and opponents, it won't be easy. The group walks through the capital while talking about recent events. The boy thanks the companion for having saved him earlier. The mood lightens with some jokes, but the demon leader complains about the lack of organization among them. Soon after, they are guided to the treasury, where the supreme leader awaits. The group is greeted by one of Aura's maids, who offers to guide them through Mercurious's treasury. She comments that she watched the boy's recent battle and praises his performance, highlighting that he even defeated Dreg. With an enthusiastic smile, she exalts the idea of the weak overcoming the strong, calling it magnificent. The maid harshly criticizes Libel for underestimating her enemies and losing, calling it pathetic. She demands Libel repent, leaving the girl completely dejected. The group reveals that the two have a history, with the maid having been Libel's former superior. Trying to ease the tension, the boy asks her to go easy. The demon leader then decides to end the moment and calls everyone to enter the treasury. The group enters the treasury, and the boy is impressed by the quantity and quality of the displayed items. There are jewels, swords, crowns, and various valuable artifacts. The demon leader smiles proudly, saying this is the greatest treasure they possess. The maid, in the background, trembles before the grandeur of the place. The maid gets completely excited, showing the treasure, praising each piece as if it were the most valuable in the world. She is enchanted by the shine and beauty of the place, leaving the group a little unsettled. Despite knowing everything about the place, the others notice she is clearly obsessed with treasures, becoming quite an exaggerated guide. While exploring the arsenal, the boy is asked which weapons he knows how to use. He confidently replies that Mary taught him various styles, so he can use any of them. Still, he prefers something simple, like a sword or maybe a dagger, nothing too flashy. He mentions that a sword like Claude's would be ideal. The boy finds a common sword and gets excited seeing it's just like Claude's. Aura warns that it's a mass-produced weapon and not recommended, but he insists, saying it's the sword of the hero who defeated the former Demon King. She replies that's exactly what scares her. He then understands the symbolic weight of that choice. The boy notices a dagger on display and takes interest in it. The maid comments that it's impressive he noticed that piece, calling it ataraxia. Although praising his keen eye, she admits that as a sword, the weapon isn't very good. Even so, there's something curious about the artifact that draws attention. The maid explains that the ataraxia sword is alive and grows with its wielder, even changing shape to adapt. Despite this, she says the weapon is considered defective and doesn't strengthen its user as it should. Still, the boy decides to keep it, ignoring the criticism, confident in his choice. With a determined smile, the boy lifts the ataraxia sword and declares he can also become stronger with it. Aura and the maid praise his choice, saying it suits him. They wish for him and the sword to become good partners. In this mood of confidence, the leader hands something to Cross, marking a new beginning. Claude offers Cross an item he's used since childhood, saying he wants him to have it. Cross hesitates, thinking it's too precious. Then, other group members start offering gifts: 2 daggers, clothes, and even absurd proposals, causing a little chaos. Cross thanks everyone with a sincere smile, but realizes he's been relying too much on others. Cross holds his new sword firmly, determination in his eyes. He declares he needs to be understood, and that he will become stronger for all those by his side. With that thought, he reaffirms his will to move forward without hesitation. Cross says he wants to find Claude as soon as possible, but Aura interrupts with a request. She wants him to attend the local school for a few days. Although surprised, he agrees, saying he's now also a monster and will fulfill his role as a citizen. Curious and excited, he comments that he never got to attend school when he was human, so he's looking forward to the experience. Excited to finally attend school, Cross is surprised to discover he was sent to kindergarten. Surrounded by children and mascots, he's completely speechless, letting out a confused "eh" as he realizes the unexpected situation. Cross sits in a room full of children and mascots, confused about the situation. The teacher asks if everyone is ready to study, and the kids shout excitedly. He, in disbelief, thinks he never imagined he'd become a kindergarten student one day. Cross is surprised to see his companions entering the room, all curious and laughing at the situation. One says he couldn't miss something so fun, while another appears disguised, saying she's worried about him. Sitting and trying to keep his composure, Cross decides to shift focus, promising to be a good example for the kids and taking advantage of the class to learn more about other races. The teacher ends the class asking if everyone understood, and the kids respond enthusiastically yes. Meanwhile, Cross panics because he understood nothing. Sitting frustrated, he realizes being a kindergarten student is harder than he imagined. When class ends, a child pulls his hand, calling him to play outside. During recess, a little girl confesses her feelings to Cross, saying he's amazing and asking to marry him. He smiles and kindly replies that if she still feels the same when she grows up, he'll be the first to ask for her hand. Meanwhile, others comment that Cross has always been good with children, recalling times they visited orphanages together. Cross plays with the kids outside, creating a joyful and light atmosphere. Meanwhile, some watch from afar, commenting on how comforting it is to see him interacting with the little ones. Suddenly, he falls to the ground, and a child starts crying. A woman suspects Claude caused it again. Shortly after, Claude appears, worried, asking one of the children if everything is okay. Cross agrees it's important to protect the children and decides to play with them. Approaching the group, he asks what game they're playing and asks to join. The kids excitedly say they're playing Sage, leaving Cross confused by the choice. During the game, the kids argue about who will be the Sage, and Cross comments that technically, he was the enemy. Still, they choose him as the hero. Excited, he accepts the role and leads the group to defeat the villains. When they point to a warrior as an evil knight, all rush at her, leaving her stunned while Cross encourages the scene enthusiastically. The game continues lively with the children facing the warrior, who pretends to be a monster, defending herself enthusiastically. Suddenly, a new enemy appears. One of Cross's allies presents himself as the Demon King, bringing even more excitement. Everyone gets into the battle mood, and fun spreads through the yard, with shouts and laughter everywhere. During the game, one student says the Demon King needs to be strong, and that's why Aura isn't fit for the role, making the mood tense. The warrior gets irritated, calling the boy a brat, while others try to calm the situation. The girl being defended responds coldly, saying she heard that from her own father, which silences everyone. During the conversation, a student gets worked up, saying humans are attacking, and monsters should react like in the days of the former Demon King. The other kids get scared, trembling with the tense mood. Cross listens shocked, but before the situation worsens, the teacher interrupts and shifts focus, calling everyone to lunch, trying to calm the atmosphere. During lunch, Cross reflects on the influence of the former Demon King, who was militaristic, and understands many monsters grew up with that idea. He recognizes it's not entirely wrong to say a strong king can be good, as some nations prospered that way. While the teacher announces a special class in the afternoon, Cross worries about how to guide the children in this divided world. Aura stands before the group and asks for the children's attention. She shares her dream of creating a world where monsters and humans no longer have to fight each other. Then, she asks what dreams they have too. The children respond excitedly with various wishes to be knights, bakers, even Cross's bride, while one says she wants to become a beetle, making everyone laugh. Aura praises the children's dreams but warns that if a war starts, they won't be able to chase them anymore. Cross becomes serious, thinking many would be taken to the battlefield. Aura then declares she wants a world where everyone, including their children and grandchildren, can pursue their own dreams. She snaps her fingers, implying there's more to show. Aura speaks firmly to the children, saying she wants them all to know the world beyond the demon territory, because the bigger their world, the bigger their dreams. One adult agrees but admits it will be a difficult dream to achieve. A rebellious student stands up and shouts it's impossible, reminding that even the former Demon King couldn't accomplish that. Aura responds confidently, saying she has allies the Sage by her side and all the children present. She asks everyone to learn a lot and become part of this change. Cross affirms he will prepare the environment for it to happen. With a smile, Aura asks if they also believe this dream can be reached. Inspired by Aura's words, the boy who once doubted stands excitedly, saying he wants to dream like that too. The other children follow him, all offering to help reach that future. Aura acknowledges she doesn't have the same power as the old demon kings, but states confidently that she's more ambitious than all of them. Cross watches the scene with a sincere smile. A woman walks away silently, clearly irritated, calling the boy a fraud and saying his words are empty. Despite the criticism, he tries to defend himself, saying his speech was good and that it was the strength of the aura. Even being ignored, he insists, with a determined expression, affirming it's not something pathetic. The boy tries to approach, saying she doesn't need to hide her weaknesses from him, even as a ruler. The girl hesitates, worried about causing trouble, but ends up saying they can be friends. He's confused and asks if he was being inconvenient, while she replies seriously that she's older than him and can't act like a kindergarten child. The girl calls Cross with a shy look, and he responds with a warm smile. While she walks away, she thinks quietly that she wants to see him again soon. The scene ends with a light mood, showing a vial and the facade of a peaceful house. A woman dressed like a witch flies on her broomstick, holding a doll tightly in her arms. With a serious expression, she promises to bring Cross back to life. Soon after, the image shows a completely destroyed city, with huge craters on the ground, revealing the gravity of what happened.